G'day there, ladies and gents of the internet. I am the Braveheart Aussie and welcome to a journey in world building. Thank you for joining me here today for the start of a new 3-part setting deep dive mini-series. Today we are moving away from the more settled and sophisticated parts of the Dark Diaspora to the more chaotic fringes of civilization to visit a major failure of the early scattering. The planet we are going to examine is that of Ovfar, and here be giants. Ovfar is a failed colony within the inner halo of the Dark Diaspora, originally settled during the first waves of the scattering. Ovfar is located within the galactic northeast of Lost Earth in the quadrant that's associated with the Tyson Sector Compact. Ovfar was identified as a primary target for early settlement and was included within the Prima Catalog due to the existence of life signatures. The Prima Catalog was a list of up to 500 stars located within 10,000 light years of Sol, identified as the most likely to be able to support an extrasolar colony of humanity. The stars were selected based on a number of characteristics, including stellar stability, planetary habitability, and the existence of biosignatures in the planet's atmosphere that indicate the possibility of life. It was viewed early on that settling on planets with life was more likely to be able to sustain an early human colony than a planet that required terraforming, particularly during the early stages of the scattering when solar resources were at their minimum. While there were no signs of any advanced alien civilizations in close proximity to Old Sol, non-Terran life ecosystems were increasingly identified and recorded in the mid-21st century, particularly by the Carl Sagan Observatory that replaced the JWST Deep Space Telescope in 2041. Despite initial settlement attempts of Ovfar being impacted by the discovery of the Malady in Phase 1 of the scattering, subsequent phases saw multiple rounds of colonization sent to the planet. During those early years of the scattering, communications back from colonization attempts to the United Recovery Authority were patchy at best, and reports on the colony effectiveness and planetary suitability were limited. However, after several years of attempts, it became apparent that the successive waves of colonization had failed, with scant reports blaming the failure on the unusual and extreme tectonic activity of the planet. By this time, the comparative success of planets such as Samiyaji saw the URA attentions turn elsewhere, and Ovfar was removed from the Prima Catalog. This left less than 5,000 people alone and isolated on a hostile and dangerous world. Ovfar itself is a terrestrial planet located in the outer half of the red dwarf star Sanctuary's Goldilocks zone. The planet orbits the star at 0.1 AU, reflecting the star's luminosity at only 3% of that of Old Sol due to it being a red dwarf. As such, Sanctuary, and with it Ovfar, and the remaining 3 super-Earth-sized rocky planets located further in the orbit of Ponant, Nauru, and Gentisi, represent something of a microsystem, with all planets orbiting well within the Mercury of Old Sol. The planet has no moon or satellite. Compared to most planets within the Dark Diaspora, Ovfar is habitable, with biosignatures such as sustainable biogenerated oxygen in the atmosphere, stable temperatures, and liquid water on the surface supporting human life. The atmosphere is generally breathable, though it takes an extended period of acclimatization for those not born on the planet to adapt. Not that anyone has arrived in the past 600 years. The planet is also very small, smaller than Mars, albeit with a greater density, resulting into having a gravity of 0.6 g. This has resulted in the local biome being characterized by tall pine tree analogues, with climate and conditions around the equator taking on a northern European character, albeit milder. The surface of the planet is 40% land, with the remainder covered by large oceans, as well as northern and southern latitudes being subject to significant storms and larger ice caps. Snowfall is common, though rarely at equatorial zones. A primary form of terrestrial life on the planet is large grazing omnivorous megafauna, as well as smaller rodent species. The oceans include fish analogues, as well as extensive coral species. However, overall the biodiversity of the planet is low for a Prima Catalog planet owing to the existence of the giants. While we're going to be examining the giants in greater details in the next 2 episodes, I want to finish today by briefly introducing this alien life form. A defining characteristic of Ovfar is the presence of the pseudo-terrestrial mega life form referred to as giants. These appear to be walking landmasses, like carved out pieces of terrain, with hundreds of large tendrils of rock, stone and earth acting as legs to propel the creatures over land and sea when they are no longer in their sedentary state. The giants vary dramatically in size, but are typically gigantic, with the smallest having the surface area of several square miles and the largest representing half to full of size of small countries back in old Earth. The giants themselves are assumed to be a living organism. There is no indication of a body or biology. In fact, when sedentary and feeding, the giants are often indistinguishable from the surrounding landscape, with their backs covered by trees, soil, mountains, and other terrain. This created a myriad of circumstances during the colonization of the planet in which settlements were founded atop a giant, only for the creature to move and destroy the subsequent settlement. There have been no successful attempts to communicate with the giants, though some do claim visions and other pseudo-psychic connections. These were widely dismissed during the early phase of colonization, but have become a central tenet of the tribalistic spiritualist religion that now dominates the society of the descendants of the abandoned survivors. The giants appear to consume both organic and mineral matter, and do so by effectively laying upon the surface of the planet and leaching into themselves through some unknown means the nutrients and substances required for them to survive. When a giant departs, either due to the threat of a larger giant in its vicinity, or when the food intake in the surrounding area is sufficiently low, the land remaining is often highly fertile, with a rich looms that's suitable for farming. However, intensive farming and other permanent settlement activities are thought to attract the attentions of the giants, and so only small-scale semi-permanent farming operations can be sustained by local tribes. The movement of the creatures is also destructive unto itself and can leave the land scorched, destroying anything, including the tribes themselves, if they get caught in the creatures' way. And that is where we will leave today's episode. If you've enjoyed this one, and you're looking forward to this setting, please make sure you leave a like and a comment below. Also, let me know if there are any aspects of this new setting you'd like me to explore in the next 2 episodes. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel, as we'll be having a series of companion lore episodes dropping to these world building series, so you don't want to miss that. Thank you so much, hope you all have a wonderful day, and may the journey continue.